Hey guys, this is Charles with Historical Gaming, and through the years I've always wanted to kind of convert Memoir 44 over to a more um, miniatures-based game, or at least kind of upgrade the terrain. But as you know, the map is kind of 2-inch hexes, and it's looks kind of like that. So through time, I've upgraded a few components. The first is getting a cigar box battle mats. The problem with this is there's no lines for like dividing left, center, right. So sometimes I'll use terrain or something like that to kind of mark where um, the command areas could be. And some of the commands and colors games are different where the lines are. So using terrain to do that is probably the best idea. The thing I wanted to use the most when I did this was telephone uh, poles. I haven't got any yet, but I thought, like, if I could get a way to secure a telephone pole and stretch a wire across, that would easily delineate where the dividing portions are and allow me to move them around, stuff like that. So another great idea is using tennis ball tubes to store your terrain tiles. So this works for all the systems very easily. You just place them in and sort them. You can sort them by type, desert, winter, whatever you want to do. Another thing I've gotten is 2-inch MDF and hex squares, and I've made my own different types of objective markers or things like that. It was hard to find somebody who had a woodcutter to make these types of terrains. But I made American War of Independence forts or fortifications just by using toothpicks and stabbing through sponge and then covering that with flocking to make it look like a base where the unit could be on here and have an attack area. And it doesn't matter how bad it looks, it just kind of looks cool, even if it's kind of a rough thing. For Rev War, that's okay. You can basically make roads, your own roads if you want. So I spray paint these green and then just take a drawing line of paint through the middle for the road, and then just make different textures and sizes of roads, and so we can connect these together. And I found that spraying with stone paint, like stone flecking paint, I'm not sure what it's called, but it's basically like a textured stone that you can spray on pottery and things like that. Works really well to give it some texture, and just do a light coat of that for the roads, etc. Let's see. We've got rivers. And so rivers are basically just a dark color, and then a little bit of a washing of a light color, and then you take glue, and then you put some crushed stone or very light stone, and just kind of shake it off. Just brush it on, shake it off, and it kind of makes it look like that, and kind of upgrades your water terrain a little bit. I do like to take I can't remember, lichen, or you can get this at Hobby Lobby. It's basically decorated. Put these on any type of terrain. You can use these as forest. You can dress up your rivers to make them look a little bit more upgraded, like that. RDoX, RDOXX, makes great hexes for hills. So they basically have the same idea as the 2-inch MDF boards, but it's thicker, so you can make bigger mountains or 2-level mountains if you want, or you can just kind of do them like that. Put those in the board. They fit perfectly. All is good. You can get houses. So bigger houses are better, just because if you're moving the units onto the terrain, sometimes with houses it's tough to fit the units in. So I did try some ideas with the MDF, and I try to put the terrain on the outside of the edges so the unit can stay inside the building area here without any trouble. And these are basically Monopoly houses that you can get on Amazon, and I just paint those and stick them on with a little glue, and pretty easy. Anybody can do it. Oops. I believe Pegasus has sandbags, and just like loose sandbags, and you can pile these onto a MDF and make your own sandbag thing. If you can find a way, probably wax paper would be a way if you just want to do the sandbags to create hexes for sandbags reinforcements. That's okay. This kind of gives you the base idea of how a hedgerow would work, or any type of brush thing that you want to set up. You take a piece of sponge, like a hard scrubby sponge, and you cut it into shape and you glue it on, and then you can flock it so it looks more like that. The reason why we can't get a better look. And you can do different shapes and ideas if you want. It doesn't really, it's hedgerows, you know, it's just all that. I found some small trees that I glued on for like that. Again, leaving the middle open so units can move in. And then I also bought these from a guy online, which I'll talk about in a minute. And these are really cool because basically you put them on the hex and then move them out as the units move in. So they'll never turn their hex. That's pretty cool. Some more towns with the bigger hotel Monopoly pieces on them. I think that's it for kind of the homemade stuff. And then I found a guy online who did these trees, as I was saying, which I really like. They look good in the game. Easy to move around. Just pop them on the board where a forest is, and if it gets too crowded, you just move them to another forest. Got a bunch of those. Also, he does 2-inch hexes. So he does winter board stuff if you like that, or you could use that as an objective hex so it's kind of more clearly identified. He also does bridges, different styles of bridges, which are perfect for the game. And there's some more that he did. And these all come pre-painted if you want. You can actually order them ready to go. And you have to check with him for the price. If you're interested in talking to him, shoot me an email, and I'll message you his name and stuff. I don't want him to get overwhelmed with orders to where he can't help everybody who wants stuff like this. These are bunkers, so you can see they look pretty cool, and you can put your units right on top of it, or your artillery on top of it. But they look pretty sweet on the board. It's hard to see right there, but more bridges, bigger bridges. More recently, he's been doing some houses or ruined buildings. I don't know if you can see that, but that's pretty cool. Again, leaving the area for the units to move in and stand on, which is always tough for this game when you're doing terrain ideas. You got to make sure you're able to get into that. Different types of terrain ideas that he's worked with. Rough terrain, craters, things like that. Here's some dragon's tooth that he made. And those are just kind of decorative and kind of cool, especially for tank type scenarios and stuff. So here's my favorite. For the Great War, he did a series of entrenchments. So these are very easy to connect to, just like the regular game. But they give such an immersive feel. With the trenches, he also did some mortar shells, which you can lay out. And he recently just started doing barbed wire, which looks absolutely fabulous. So we tried a hexless version of the Great War using just the hexes, and because the trenches are so fairly close together, there's no more than 4 hexes clearing in between. It was really easy to count where a unit should be without having the hexes on the board. I am working some ideas into getting a better board that has lighter marking, so it's easier to see how things are marked on the battlefield, but I'll keep you posted on how that goes. Let's see. Here's an idea I got from barbed wire off Etsy. I was basically using this originally as my barbed wire, and basically stretching and cutting it to fit the battlefield. And then as the craters came in from the barrage, cutting the wire and stretching it to fit. Worked pretty good. Here's a hedgerow that he did. It's unpainted, but it looks pretty good. And that's pretty much it. So that's my ideas of converting commands and colors to miniatures. Basically covered Ancients, which really doesn't have much terrain at all. Memoir 44, uh, uh, Commands and Colors Tricorn, and also um, the Great War. So I hope you enjoyed the video and take care. Send me a message if you're interested in talking to the guy about ordering the trenches and the custom units and stuff.